Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. For the last few months, but the decibels increased in the last few weeks, public life of history has been unprecedented. Never has been any discipline been so criticized as is history in India today. Discussions about the economic hardships of the people, discussions about the machinations of the politicians and exploiting people, discussions about crime, the rising graph, have been replaced by all the discussions about the nature of the Indian history. And it is being alleged, partly to partly true to a great extent, that the Indian historiography and the textbooks focus too much on the bigoted dynasties of Delhi and belittle the histories of Cholas, Vijayanagar Empire, Ahoms, and others. I do not disagree to a great extent, though I do disagree to the fact that Cholas, Vijayanagar Empire, they were not all India or pan India rulerships. So naturally, since they were not pan India, those kingdoms or the ruling people would be in major part who had the largest chunk of the territory being affected. But the question is not about that. The question is, do we really need rewriting of the history? Is it worthwhile? And this noise, is it much ado about nothing? Now, I would not deny that the call for democratization is always welcome. The polarized language of the call and the regressive understanding of historiography needs to be called out. We have got to differentiate between history. Two important changes seem to have formed the context of that development. It would not have been there. The first is the political power, as I said, moved from the Congress party to BJP. Historically, nation states and the political parties have always sought legitimacy through a specific past. They want the past to justify the present. Fine. And they want to adapt, change, amend the past so that it's conducive to their ideologies. So this is something which is at the base of all this demand. The very case of history as a discipline in the 19th century was, in fact, tied to the rise of the nation states. That thing is forgotten, the historical context. The imperial powers like France, Germany, England, USA use the past to legitimize their exploitation over the colonies. And the anti-colonial nationalists wrote histories that mobilized nationalistic feelings. So this was different perceptions. After independence, academic history in India was predominantly framed under the nation building exercise. But what happened in 1970? History writing shifted from crude political history of elite personalities and started including subaltern studies, ordinary people, workers, women, Dalits. Till now it was the kings and the rulers, but no longer. And then what we saw the rise of subaltern studies, gender history, environmental history, and caste studies. We not only learned how the Gandhi-led Congress built a national movement, but how the ordinary peasants, tribals, workers shaped the movement. And then not only they shaped the movement, they shaped Gandhi as Mahatma. More recently, we have seen the global history. And this history crosses the nation-state boundaries around the world. Second situation change was the rise of the social media. It opened a new space for history format. And now this history is easily consumable. As often it opens up discipline to large audience, it carries a potential danger of putting forward a simple, divisive, and one-sided narrative. And it's not surprising that with the rise of social media, we're seeing an epidemic of twisted, cherry-picked, politically charged popular history. And let me tell you, most of the history which I've seen being quoted is definitely incorrect. The basis is correct, I don't deny it. But the way it's presented, it suppresses the negative aspects and just promotes what you want to do. It's cherry picking. But then history has always been cherry picking. Then TV journalism plays a major role by giving little space to the trained historians. The dynasty-centered history is an old form of history writing. In the last 2 decades, very rarely has an academic work focused on single Mughal or Delhi Sultanate dynasty. And pitching the alleged glorious history of Mughals with the glorious history of Cholas does not offer anything new, anything challenging intellectually other than the dry political history, as there is no dearth of scholarship on the non-Islamic dynasties. We can't deny it. I am amazed that they say that the Britishers presented history to show inferiority of Hindus. No. Look at the works of Burton Stain or Neelkanta Shastri of the Chola kingdom. They are the last word as far as I'm concerned. And what they wrote about Cholas, especially Burton Stain, Cholas, Vijayanagar, and Pandyas, is something which authoritative authenticity cannot be questioned. It could be said, one thing, that the Indian history and its teaching are North India centered, not Delhi centered. Moreover, in the last decade, so greater attention has been paid to non-North India histories, such as the history of Maratha state power, Mysore state, Janki Nayar does it, early medieval South Indian, Keshwan does it, and Ahom, Yashmin Saika has done it. New histories always take time to translate into the authentic books. And then there's an allegation that NCERT's medieval history books focus too much on Delhi Sultans. As a matter of fact, since 2005, if you look at the NCERT books, 3 out of 10 chapters on the political kingdoms, Chola kingdom, Delhi Sultanate, and Mughal Empire. And others refer to the various dynasties. So all this presentation that NCERT was motivated is not acceptable. Only 3 chapters on the political kingdoms, and out of that, only 1 is for the Mughal Empire. Histories of the kings are not presented as reductionist histories of heroes, but are embedded in society, are embedded in economy and culture. I just happened to have a look at the Uttar Pradesh basic education history and civic textbooks. It was for class 7. And the accusation is about Delhi dynasties centered history. And I think it does apply there to a great extent. Out of the 14 books, history chapters, in this book there are 14 chapters, 12 are devoted to Delhi Sultanate and Mughal Empire. Absolutely that's not acceptable. But the logic to the present call is skewed. I also saw in the class 6 NCERT textbook a whole chapter on Ashoka, a whole chapter on Gupta, another whole chapter on Palwa and Chalukya. So why is the logic which is used for textbooks on the medieval period history not automatically extended to a textbook of the ancient period? Then there is no point in going back on a trend of history writing that's outdated terms of global scholarship. That's the important thing. By returning to the history of the dynasties and kings, we are turning history into lore and legend. And it's quite pleasing to the ears of few people. Let sleeping kings and queens lie. As they say, let the sleeping dogs lie. Histories of heroes and villains, good and evil dynasties, even Mahabharata is like that, requires historians to become social therapists and write history as a therapy reading sessions. But do we need to democratize history? But sadly, this will not happen, giving a polarized overtone to the existing historiography. Now, what we need to understand that presenting history can never be. Truth is never static. The people say it's eternal are talking bullshit. Truth changes according to the time, according to the persons involved, according to the situation, according to culture, and most important, according to your perception. Bhagat Singh is today a hero. Before partition, he was a terrorist. Mahatma Gandhi, who later became the father of the nation, was a seditionist, a traitor. So was Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Whatever you might say, it was the perception of the rulers and the ruled. So, how you look at it, present it to you. Even as simple as that, the partition which resulted in basically killing of a million people, all the Muslims will blame Sikhs and Hindus and Sikhs will blame the Muslims, while both parties are to be blamed. The real history would have been that both should be held to a ridicule, but it's not done. You cannot divide or change the psyche of a historian. After all, they are human beings. Look at Nazis. Nazis called killing of the Jews, which is we call Holocaust and genocide, to be ethnic cleaning. Is the difference of the terminology. But the fact remains that the 6 million Jews were killed in the most inhuman manner. So whether you call it a genocide or whether you call it ethnic cleansing is up to you. But you cannot change the fact that those people were not responsible for the fate. Then look at another thing. In the Second World War, if Axis power would have been successful and Allies would have been defeated, then what the situation would have been? The history all over the world would have said that the evil was not Nazism, not fascism, but it was America and England. They would have been held to ridicule. Nobody would have banned Nazism. Calling neo-Nazi would not have been a crime, it would have been a praise. Then in India, the Prime Minister would have not been Nehru, it would have been Subhash Chandra Bose, because he would have come back as Supremo, held by Hitler and Tojo. So the whole geopolitical situation would have changed. And naturally with that would have changed the history itself. So what we do need is different aspects of history. Let all the parameters be presented to the people. Why do we want to rewrite history? That's a question which I'm asking. We do not need to rewrite history. What we need is to give the variations, the alternatives. And that's what we need. We need alternative history, not alternative to history. Let both alternatives be presented to the students and let them be prescribed as recommended reading. Rewrite the history. I agree that when Madam Gandhi set up this Indian Historical Society, there was protest against that, but that was the brainchild not of Mrs. Gandhi, but of Nurul Hasan. And it was good. We had very good historians at that time. and they wrote. But as I told you about this class 6 and class 7 book of NCRTs and UP government textbook, the NCRT was much more balanced than the UP governments. So what we don't need is all this noise and sound and fury about rewriting history. Because that means alternative to history. What we need is a change in the presentation of the different perceptions of the history. The same situation perceived by one person would be different than perceived by the other person. As I said, truth is not eternal and truth is not permanent. And that's why, if you remember, Justin Pilate, who was responsible for crucifixion of Christ, he was asked what he would go from place to place and ask what is truth and would not stay for the answer because he knew the answer would be incorrect. The truth cannot be identified, cannot be defined. It is there, period. And it is as per the perception. As I said, the beauty lies in the eye of the beholder. The truth lies in the perception of the reader, the listener, the observer. The ideal history would be presenting both aspects, or different aspects. But that cannot happen given the human psyche. Let's not forget, history is a social science. It's not a natural science. And even the natural science, the perceptions would always differ. So what we need is something very different. And if we can set that right, then our situation would be better. And all this noise and the smoke that is being created would dissipate. What happens is, as I was telling you about the social media, it is some people who started and their acolytes and the IT cells and their followers mindlessly, like lemmings and ants, follow it. And that clouds the issue. Because when the unaware people start shouting about something which is scholarly, it muddies the water. And when the water is muddied, then that is what is not drinkable. So you need to let the things settle. Have different perceptions, present them. And that's why I say, there is no alternative history, let there be alternatives of history. And variety would lend enchantment and real scholarship. That's a need of the country and need of the world. But this is not happening only in India. They are rewriting history by throwing the statues of the freedom fighters in USA. So this change would be there. But change, if it is done in a proper manner, is always welcome. Done otherwise, it results in anarchy and suppression of feelings. And those suppression of feelings ultimately can burst like a volcano. So let's not be suicidal in the long run. Let's take things, present the different perceptions, and I repeat, let there be alternative histories, not alternatives to history. Thank you.